Hey there, family. Today I'm going to be talking about whether or not you need a life coach or a therapist. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Peter Gordon and I'm a graduate student working towards what will be an eventual doctorate in clinical psychology. I also happen to be a life and a health and wellness coach, and I make videos on mental health, fitness, wellness, and everything I hope can help you to lead your most profound life. And while you're here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell so that you're notified each week when I post a brand new video. Also feel free to share this video, like it, comment on it, and all that good stuff. Now let's get into the heart of today's topic. But before I get into today's topic, you may have noticed that the scenery behind me is a little bit different. I'm in Rock Creek Park in Washington, D.C., which is very close to where I live. I love getting out to nature and I love to go for hikes in Rock Creek Park. It kind of centers me. It's a wonderful park. And I always encourage people, if you're close to nature, to get out into it. And so I figured, why not record today's video from Rock Creek Park? So let's get into it. So in today's topic, I'm going to be talking about whether or not you should seek the help of a life coach or a mental health therapist. And the video was inspired by a friend of mine who reached out to me recently and wanted to know whether or not she should seek the help of a mental health therapist or a life coach. You see, this friend of mine had been struggling with some career choices, wasn't quite sure where to turn. She felt stuck in a rut, felt like her career, felt uninspired in her career and career path, just felt down overall. So she wanted to know whether or not she should seek mental health therapy or a life coach. But before I get into answering that question, or better yet, helping you to come to your own conclusion, let's try to have some understanding of what a life coach and a therapist does and what the differences are. And so in terms of a life coach is someone that has typically taken a class, or they may have had some basic life experiences, right? But usually they're certified by a sanctioning organization. And what happens is they're able to provide people with some bare bone guidance in terms of how to direct their life in the way they want it to go, right? So they help individuals to kind of unpack a few things, uncover a few things that may be blocking them. And in a lot of ways, they're sort of motivators, right? What they don't do, however, is clinical therapy work, and that is where a therapist comes in. A mental health therapist, on the other hand, can do the things that a life coach does. However, the difference, though, is that a mental health therapist has done extensive training on clinical therapeutic work, meaning that they can diagnose disorders, they can come up with clinical treatment plans, and so on and so forth. And again, they usually have had extensive training, usually on the graduate level work or even into the PhD level. A therapist could be a psychiatrist who is a medical doctor, but who can also do therapeutic work. There's also a psychologist. There is a licensed professional counselors, there are licensed clinical social workers, licensed marriage and family therapists, alcohol and addictions counselors. These are all considered clinical therapists, so they can also do the work of a life coach. So again, at the end of the day, both of these professions kind of complement each other, right? They work together. In fact, I really encourage people to have both a therapist and also a life coach. But let's say you want to choose one. You have a situation, you want to work through something. How do you determine what's right for you? Well, here are a few things you can do. So one of the first things you can do is have an understanding of how your situation affects you. So for example, let's say you just feel like you are stuck in terms of your career path. You're not sure where you want to go, what you want to do. You're trying to figure out some things to do in the future. Well, a life coach can help you with that. A life coach can kind of guide you and say, hey, perhaps try this or perhaps try that. Or maybe you're just someone that needs a swift kick in the pants. You need some accountability. You just need somebody checking in on you once in a while to make sure you're following a certain plan. Then a life coach would really be a good person for you. So I think my friend who was having the issues with career stuff, I think she could benefit from just working with a life coach. But let's say you're dealing with something a little bit more serious, something on a more clinical level. Let's say you're dealing with depression. Let's say you are having suicidal thoughts. Let's say you just feel really stuck in a rut and it's just keeping you down. You can't get out of bed, so on and so forth. Well, then I think that's where you need a therapist. Now, in choosing a therapist, it all depends on the severity of your symptoms. Some therapists, for example, a licensed professional counselor, licensed clinical social worker, can provide you with guidance and create a therapeutic treatment plan. But let's say your situation is much more serious. Then you may want to deal with a psychologist, or to go even further, maybe you need to be medicated. Then that's where you deal with a psychiatrist. So really, your choice between a therapist or a life coach is really all dependent upon the severity of where you are. Meaning, if it's just a matter of getting a swift kick in the pants or just some basic guidance or some idea in terms of things you can do differently, a life coach can help you. A therapist can also do the same, but a life coach can also do that. But let's say your situation is a lot more serious. You need some clinical guidance, you need some clinical therapeutic treatment plans to be in place for you. Then a therapist would work. But again, within the therapy window, there is a psychiatrist with use of medication, there's a psychologist, there's also licensed professional counselor. So I hope this makes sense to you, and I hope you're able to kind of find what works for you. In my opinion, I think both can work well together. I think there's nothing wrong with having a therapist and a life coach as well. And as a reminder again, before I go, make sure to get out in nature. It's a wonderful place to be in. Even right now, I feel at peace. The sound is wonderful here in DC. So if you can get out in nature, folks, go and do it. And as always, family, stay well. But hey, before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, which is my face right there. Also, be sure to check out some of my other videos by clicking any of these little boxes right here. In the meantime, family, as always, stay well.